Hi, welcome to another Google Hangout, and today we are with Nyc Labrets. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
So he is living in Washington, D.C., and today we're talking about technological unemployment, which is something that more and more is coming a big topic to speak about in our society, wherein machines are more and more replacing the means to earn your income, which is your means of living. So, Nick, tell us about your experience. You presented a paper in the BN Congress in 2012. What was it all about? It was what was your experience presenting it?
Um, what I posit is technological unemployment is inevitable, absolutely inevitable. Because if as a business owner, if I can reduce my labor costs by 99%, which in cases like Amazon with their Kiva system robots, yeah, you've got to drop a labor cost of 97%. For something that's much more reliable, and that's the way capitalism works. Anytime there's a cheaper way to bring a good to market, the older, more expensive ways promptly abandoned, because it's about capturing profit, and the way you do that is cut the margins. And the machines are now at this inflection point where they're going to be significantly cheaper than human labor. So, and it's going to happen very, very rapidly. It's going to follow an exponential curve. So for the next couple of years, you really won't notice it. It'll be like half of 1% of all jobs get automated away, and nobody will really notice it. Then 3 years after that, it'll be 1% of all jobs. That's 1.5 million jobs in just in the United States alone. 3 years in a row, that's almost 5 million jobs that are permanently eliminated. Then 3 years after that, instead of being 1%, it goes to 2%. And all of a sudden, you're at 3 million jobs a year. And within a 3-year period, you're talking 10 million job losses. So that's going to happen. And once these jobs are gone, they're gone. They're absolutely gone. And it will be impossible to retrain you, because anything you train for is going to get automated away. Right? So the whole idea of going back to school or retraining, it's not going to work, because the jobs you're training for are also going to get automated away. So within about a dozen years from now, unemployment's going to double. You're talking anywhere from 25 to 35 million jobs that will not exist over today's levels. So the rules for society is straight out of Genesis. Man shall earn his bread by the sweat of his brow. Well, sweat's about to be removed from the equation, and people are going to be unable to generate income. And under the rules we have, under that set of rules, you don't work, you don't generate income, you starve. It's really that simple. So, so what to do about it? Number one, there's plenty of money, right? The idea is basic income. You give everybody basically the sweet spot we're talking about is roughly the same amount of money that people in Social Security retirees get. It's $15,000 a year. That's enough to keep the lights on, keep food in the belly, and keep a roof over your head. And pretty much every adult over the age of 18 gets it. And the cost for that in the United States is roughly $3 trillion. You would essentially have to double the American federal budget in order to do this. There's plenty of money for that. One of the big arguments is like, no, that costs too much. No, number one, we just bailed out the banks to the tune of $17 to $30 trillion. So that's one. Okay, they have that. The other is our economy has tripled in size since the year 1970. In today's dollars, the American economy in the year 1970, 45 years ago, where it was $6 trillion a year. Today it's $18 trillion. But, and the corollary to that, before I get to the but, since 1970, the work population has gone from 100 million workers to 150 million workers. So you have the economy has tripled in size, but the amount of workers has only increased by a third. Right? So you have an exponential growth in the size of the economy, but you have linear growth And here's the problem: the average wage earner has seen none of that.
Absolutely nothing.
all those gains have been siphoned up legally, completely 100% legal. Wages have remained flat, and as a result, anything the workers don't get go right to the top. So there's plenty of concentrated wealth, and there's a couple ways to get the money back. Number one, there's a thing called clawback. Clawback is if you're a mafioso and you've made tens of millions of dollars, right? You get convicted, that money gets clawed back, and it goes into a general fund. And then there's something, a windfall profits tax. Sarah Palin did this in 2007. In Alaska actually has a form of basic income.
Right.
It's called the Alaska Permanent Fund, and it's a dividend. It's generally $1,000 a year. But in 2007, when Sarah Palin was governor of Alaska, she enacted a windfall profits tax against the big oil companies in Alaska, and she tripled the size of the payout. And she did this now. She did this before John McCain named her. She did this well over a year before that. She had an 80% approval rating, and at the very same time, that she was running around the country calling Barack Obama a socialist. That's in Alaska. People in Alaska know this, but the rest of the country doesn't. Every adult was getting a $3,000 check, and plus the kids also qualified for a smaller stipend. So if you were a family of four in Alaska in October of 2008, while the entire financial world was collapsing around everybody's heads, right, and scaring the living, everybody in Alaska, every family in four in Alaska was getting a $10,000 check that month. Right.
And why do people don't know about this? Because we were also talking off air about the history of, for example, the proposal of a basic income by people like Nixon. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. In 1967, Martin Luther King wrote a book called "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community?" And one of the last chapters, Martin Luther King proposes what he called the citizens' dividend, social dividend, and it was basically a basic income scheme. He gets killed the following year, and a year after that, Richard Nixon came up with something called the Family Assistance Plan, FAP. He proposed it in August of 1969, and what he wanted to do in that money was $800 a year for a family of four in food stamps, and $1,600 in just direct cash, no means testing. Every American family of four would get that amount of money. In today's money, that's roughly $15,000. Nixon proposed it. It flew through the House. The vote was something like 258 to 130 against. 258 for. So it went through the House, and it died in committee in the Senate. It never reached the Senate floor for a vote. Had it gotten out of committee and passed the Senate, Nixon would have signed it. It was his idea. It was his idea. So we had that bill not died in Senate committee, Nixon's Family Assistance Plan, we would have already had basic income in this country 45 years ago.
And also Theodore Roosevelt was also proposing it, and
right.
that would have been even before.
That I don't know. That's actually new to me. So I'm gonna have to find out about that after this is over, because right now I just want to focus on this. But he just proposed it, right? It never got to the point where it was an actual bill, right?
No.
Right. But yeah, Richard Milhouse fucking Nixon did this. Right, and you think of Nixon, right? Right? Yeah, no. He that came as a complete surprise to me. Like I said off camera, Joseph Stiglitz, just the Economist, he just mentioned in passing in a Vanity Fair article, right? And I was like, wait, what? Right? And I went and looked it up, and then I found out that entire backstory. But since then, nothing, right? It's absolutely crickets.
So how did you come to propose a basic income? You've mentioned Martin Luther King as one of the ones that you got through this.
Yeah, I was in Palo Alto. This is the late 90s. So I'm in Palo Alto, and I used to be a stockbroker, and I was actually job hunting. And somebody discarded the Wall Street Journal, right? And I only read the B. I don't really read the A section. I mean, it's good. The part of the Wall Street Journal I like is the middle section, the B sections, the marketplace. And there was a small little item that said, this country has a gross domestic product of X amount of dollars, and it's 5% of the world total, right? So I was like, oh, really? All I have to do is multiply that number by 20, and I'll know how much all the money in the world is, right? So I did, and it was like $70 trillion. And I was like, wait, well, you know what? There's 7 billion people, right? So if you divide one by the other, that'll be like all the money in the world divided by all the people in the world works out to about $10,000 a person. If you take all the money in the gross domestic product divided by all the people in the world, but yet in the first world, right, you've got 5 billion people that get by on $2 or less a day. It's roughly $3.5 trillion. That's it. That's for 5 billion people. We, the 2 billion in the West, we get the rest of that pile, all of us. But we don't divide it equally, do we?
Not at all.
Not at all. And so that kind of triggered this kind of thinking, right? Because that's a baseline number. And for years I tried to track this down in the Wall Street Journal. I couldn't find it. But you go to the CIA World Factbook and look up world economy. Those numbers are there. That's a real number, and it's really not right that you've got so many people living in abject misery and poverty in this planet when there's so goddamn much to go around. Plenty for everybody here. There's plenty for everybody here, and it's short-sighted. Look. Right now, there's probably some 15-year-old beggar in Calcutta or slums of Mexico City, and they've got the cure to cancer locked up in their brain. They can't get at it because why? Because they're too goddamn busy trying to feed themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
It is impossible that we talk about, yes, we have to make a better society, but as long as you are stuck in this survival mode, how can you have time to educate yourself?
You can't.
So basic income would actually propose like this new way of living wherein you dedicate yourself to better yourself, contribute to society.
But here's the thing, most people won't, right? Most people won't. We were talking about J.K. Rowling and it was so great that she could do the Harry Potter books, but there are a lot of people, there are a lot of women in her situation that never wrote a Harry Potter book and never will. And you know what? Like I also said before, those women are actually more important than J.K. Rowling because they were able to comfortably and safely raise their kids, and that's actually a much bigger contribution to society than a well-written set of children's books. Right?
Let's talk about the aspect of the current ongoing revolutions or protesting in America. What's your perspective on this? And
there is no movement in this country. There is no revolution. There's no organization. None. Absolutely none. But we don't want a revolution. What we want to do is the last thing we want is a goddamn revolution.
Exactly.
Everything we talk about, we know the technology is going to happen. We know the job losses are going to happen. We're actually in a very unique position right now. We can plan for it. We can absolutely plan for it. We know by such and such a date, the likelihood is there are going to be 10 million jobs get permanently eliminated. And if those people don't have a means to provide income for themselves, then it's either they're going to starve, you're going to end up out in the street, or we provide income for them. And again, there's plenty of money for this.
So what is your current process that you're going to be, we were mentioning about your individual decision to actually become part of politics. Can you tell us more about it?
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm a declared candidate for United States Senate under my birth name, which is Martin Serwell. I'll be running on a Democratic line. But since Washington, D.C. is not a state, I will have no authority, I will have no power, I will have no privileges. It's called a shadow senator. The only thing I can advocate for is D.C. statehood. I can't propose any bills, I can't speak from the floor, but with or without that position, because I'm doing it right now, I can advocate for ideas like this. Okay,
which is
and right
what's
now,
necessary. People talking about it.
Right now, you got these numbnuts who these people know this. These people in this Congress know everything that I'm saying is true. Paul Ryan, right there, they just put across $40 billion worth of cuts of food stamps. No. The exact opposite needs to happen. People say the food stamp program is unfair because why should I work while this bum? No, the thing to do is fold food stamps into Social Security, and to make it completely fair, every adult, rich or poor, regardless of income or lack of income, gets the same dollar amount every month. And that's roughly $2,400 American dollars a year, and that's a solid step towards establishing basic income.
What we're saying in living income is that, why giving money to the people that are already filthy rich, to be honest.
You get it back in taxes. You get it back because the reason you do it that way is this is the way the Germans did it with Kindergeld. Everybody in Germany that has a child under the age of 18 is X amount of dollars per child. And number one, for all you right-wing nuts out there, no, Germany is not a baby factory. People are not pumping up babies just to take advantage of that. When they first started debating the idea, they thought about doing means testing, and they were like, no, you know what? The poor, the working class, the middle class, they're going to take that money, they're going to immediately spend it, and in practice has been proven to be true. The ones that don't need it, you get it back in taxes. You get it back at the end of the year in taxes. So what that does, it removes an entire layer of bureaucracy, right? Because if you're doing means testing for every single person, right? No.
It could also be automated.
Right,
what we propose is that, for example, the means test is something as simple as: are you employed, unemployed? How long have you been unemployed? Just giving some quick facts about it, and that's it. I mean, if you don't ask for that living income, then you won't receive it.
That's why it's called unconditional. That's why it's called unconditional, because as soon as you start setting down one set of conditions, you're never really going to set down another and another and another, and then it becomes so complicated a process, you're right back where you started.
Another situation is that people complain in relation to taxes, and when they fund the current welfare system, what we were discussing, like, oh, that people that aren't working, they're getting my taxpayers' money as their basic income, and they're not doing anything because it's my tax money, and we have to also remove that. So we also propose that personal taxes aren't there.
Once work is eliminated, the answer to that's kind of so. It isn't kind of. It's so what? Work is going to get eliminated. As these jobs get eliminated, there is no work. There's nothing to do. So if there's nothing to do, no, you don't make up work for people to do. You don't.
We don't want any more of that, of course.
Well, no. When a person retires on Social Security, there's exactly zero expectation that they do anything. Zero. And this goes to it being unconditional. And this is actually a very big sticking point. I'm one of the few people, pretty much anybody that writes in the field, Andrew McAfee and the team that wrote The Race Against Machine, Martin Ford, several others, pretty much everybody's like, well, people have to do something. And the answer is no, they don't. No, they don't. And that is such a hard sticking point because people can't wrap their brains around it. It's like everybody's got to pull their weight. No, there's no weight to pull anymore. The machines are doing it. There's no work. There's nothing to do. So if people want to do something, great. Most people probably won't, and it shouldn't, and it should not matter, right? Right?
Another aspect in relation to technological unemployment is that in some nations, there's not enough money to create all of this infrastructure and corporations to direct all of their funds to do this. So what I see is that it will happen in certain nations first and maybe later on in the rest of the world, but each nation has different necessities at the moment. So we see tech unemployment as one aspect that can be covered with a basic income and living income. Can you tell us about, just pretty quick, in relation to the living wage bill that was banned, in essence, in DC in relation to Walmart?
Right. Yeah. Well, the D.C. City Council tried to pass a living wage law here in D.C., which means that no employer can hire below a certain dollar amount. I forget what it was. It might have been $12 or $15. Walmart's opening a store here. They're opening a store up on Wednesday, and Walmart was firmly opposed to this idea. They were like, if you pass that law, we're not going to open the stores we were planning to.
What was the change in the minimum wage? It was from $8.25 to 11 something.
It's still 7 to 7 and a quarter. I forget what the dollar figure for a living wage in DC was, but it's significantly higher than minimum wage. And Walmart said, look, if you pass this law, if you make this a law, we will just close our doors and we will, it's all or nothing. Take it or leave it. The city council passed the law, and then the mayor vetoed it. And now we have Walmart opening up in 3 days here.
So what's the solution that you see in relation to this?
We should tell Walmart to fuck off, right?
But in terms of politics and actually having the means to establish, for example, new rules in which a corporation can operate in a country or in a nation.
Right. Well, there used to be a bumper sticker that says, ass, grass, or cash, nobody rides for free. Right. If you set up shop here, right, and you do American business on American soil, then and you have to pay us. We'll give you a license, a charter, but we want a significant piece of your business. All right, we're not going to take so much that you can't afford to run a business, go out of business. But yeah, you can't just come here and get a free ride. Companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, they're conducting all their business on the internet. Well, guess who built the internet? It was the American taxpayer. All right, it's the same idea. When you go on a highway, you have to pay a toll.
Exactly.
These guys are moving hundreds of $billions worth of freight. And they're not paying a penny for maintenance. Right? They're not paying a dime, and that needs to change.
Yeah, it's time to actually establish this through laws, through political participation, because we, the people, can only complain about it, but what are we actually proposing as a law that these corporations have now complied to?
The laws need to be changed.
Exactly.
It's really that simple. It's really that simple. But in order to get the laws to change, the people here in this country need to get organized, and they're not.
That's the point. And I guess that we can finish with that. With what would you say in relation to the necessity of political participation in the U.S., and not only in the U.S. but around the world, in relation to these matters at hand that are of primary interest and should be of primary interest and importance, because we don't want a revolution. Things can be done through proper methods.
I like the Australian model of mandatory voting. In this country, voting's not a duty; it's a right. So what happens in our big elections? 40% of the eligible voters don't vote. In the midterm elections, like next year, we're going to have midterms. 60%, 6 out of 10 people who are eligible to vote will not vote. And the way American politics works, it's 50% plus 1. So if only 40% vote, the winner only needs to get 20% of the vote plus 1, which means that 4 out of 5 people this entire Congress, this entire Senate, including the White House, right? Almost 4 out of 5 people did not vote for these people because we don't have mandatory voting, and the 40% that do vote come from the extremes.
Right, and what's also lacking is like who to vote for, because at the moment the options are really not viable and best for all at all. We have a question, and it says, regarding technological unemployment, wouldn't it be possible to optimize the use of technology in a way that doesn't compromise employment of human workforce through, for example, rethinking the concept of work in general?
Capitalism is about cutting the margins. Shaving the margins. No business owner is going to go for that. They want to spend as little as possible getting a product to market. So there, yeah, if they can shave their margins by 95%, they're not going to listen to me saying no, cut them by 65%. And you got to hire. That's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So basically, the only way, yeah, if they cut their labor, I've been trying to figure this out, and I'm thinking, yeah, when they start shedding workers en masse, yeah, there's got to be a way to tax their profits, because the profits.
That's the point, exactly. Getting money from the corporations to fund the basic.
Actually, let me give an example. Walmart has 2 million workers worldwide, something like 1.5 million in the United States. By the year 2018, it's likely that they're going to eliminate 1 million of those jobs. Now, the very cheapest that you can hire as an owner. If I pay a worker $7.25 an hour, they see maybe $15,000 a year. But as a business owner, there are added costs. I have to pay Social Security. So the cheapest I can hire one worker for a 2,000-hour work year, it costs me $30,000 for the cheapest worker. Now, if I eliminate 1 million of those jobs, and I keep most of that money. The short version is, if Walmart eliminates 1 million jobs at $30,000 each, that's $30 billion a year in profit.
It has to go back to the people, to the buyers.
Right. So basically, if Walmart wants to do business in this country, we need to set terms.
Exactly.
We need to set terms and say, look, if you're not willing to meet those terms, we don't want your business.
Exactly, that's the way to go. And the people has to also, I mean, buying is also a form of voting. So if we start also buying from corporations that do apply to this, then we will set the trend for the rest, right?
Yep.
So Nick, this hangout is already coming to an end. So thanks a lot for participating. See you some other time.
Okay,
Good luck.
That was nice and direct, and we actually stayed on topic. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks to you. Thanks for your time. And thanks to you guys. See you next week talking about basic income and the Brazilian model. Stay tuned for next week. Thank you.
Okay, ciao.